Hello, I'm Poppy Miller. Welcome along to a fresh hour of CBS Sports HQ presented by Zelle. Zelle is a great way to send money to friends and family wherever they bank in the US. Look for it in your banking app today. We've got another exciting weekend coming up in the NWSL as we're into the second half of the regular season and a frantic playoff race looms on the horizon. Let's take a look at the matches we've got on tap come Saturday. We've got a meeting between two teams at opposite ends of the table to kick things off as Kansas City head to North Carolina to take on the Courage, and out west the Reign will host Gotham FC in Tacoma at 10 Eastern. Both matches, as always, will be available on Paramount+. And here to look ahead with what we can expect, our former Olympic gold medalist Aly Wagner joins us now. Aly, it's always good to see you. Let's start with some good news for Kansas City. They got their first win of the regular season last weekend against the OL Reign. It had been a long time coming. How important is that result for them, Aly, not just in terms of points, but more so in terms of confidence at this point in the season?
Yeah, and maybe job security for Hugh Williams, their manager. I mean, this is massive, right? The team, if you will, had been underperforming to a certain extent based on certain stats that you look at. So one of them being expected goals. Expected goals for them was above 15. It was about 15.6, and they had only scored 7 goals. And when I look at that stat, yes, they don't have a true number 9. But when I look at that stat, to me, it's a team that is pushing too hard. It's a team that knows they're an expansion side, that hasn't picked up a win, and ultimately recognizing that they need to get that monkey off their back. And so I do think that getting this win, the first 3 points of the season, was just a massive boost for this side, and hopefully it'll allow them to relax and start to show some of the creativity that the player, Victoria Pickett right there, the one who scored the goal, that they have in this side. So this is a young squad. They've got some good acquisitions in Hamilton and Mace that have changed the dynamic up top. And now I think this is going to allow them just to hopefully settle in and not push as hard and try to find their way through games, as opposed to recognize that there's a sense of urgency to pick up those first 3 points.
So no doubt a massive boost for them, but it will be a tough task this weekend against Paul Riley's North Carolina, who are second in the standings and really gaining some momentum as of late. How are you expecting this match to unfold?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Poppy. And speaking with Paul Riley yesterday, he said, look, I feel like our side is finally coming out of preseason mode, and we're starting to develop a rhythm. They controlled the game against Chicago. They had 60% of the possession, which was something that was not occurring in earlier matches. And in fact, when they faced this Kansas City team the first time out, it was a 0-0 draw, and Kansas City had the majority of the possession at 60%. So North Carolina is a team that wants to dominate the game on both sides of the ball. They want to control possession, and they want to push you in their press. That's been an area that has been lacking for them. But this game is full of emotions. The last time these two teams faced off, it was right after a massive trade that sent Hamilton and Haley Mace from North Carolina to Kansas City, and Kansas City's star number 9, Amy Rodriguez, up to Paul Riley in North Carolina. So the game was loaded with emotion on a small pitch. I don't think it's going to play out the same way this time around. I think this is North Carolina's game to get a result out, even though Kansas City has that morale boost from picking up their first 3 points. The field is much larger in North Carolina, and you're going to have the return of Lynn Williams from her time away with the Olympic squad. And I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Riley finds a way to get Jessa McDonald, Lynn Williams, Dabinia, and Amy Rodriguez on the pitch at the same time, even without shifting his formation too much. I think he wants those personality players out there pressing the tempo and looking to put teams under pressure, because the pace and creativity and direct play of those 4 is going to be a handful going up against this Kansas City side that has picked up a new goalkeeper in Adriana Franch. I think that is a boost for them because they have struggled a bit in that goalkeeper play. They were using Nicole Barnhart, Audrey Bledsoe, and that neither one had really stepped up and owned that spot. They'd struggled with crosses coming in. They gave up a lot of goals on outside shots, just silly mistakes. So in Adriana Franch, they're picking up a real personality player, a player that's not afraid to come off her line and control that 18-yard box. And I think that is going to be a real key in this match against North Carolina, but I still give the nod to North Carolina.
So several storylines to keep our eye on in that match. Elsewhere, two teams separated by just 2 points in the standings will go head-to-head as the OL Reign host Gotham FC. Prior to their loss against Kansas City, OL had been red hot. This weekend, though, they're up against one of the best defenses in the league. So having said that, Aly, who do you favour in this match?
Yeah, you're right, Poppy. 8 goals conceded by Gotham, but I still favor this OL side. Question marks though about whether or not Eugenilo Samer, one of their key players, will be back from injury that she had in the last match, but they are getting full compliments of Megan Rapinoe, Rose Lavelle. They still have Mara, Sean Fishlock. Huerta's been having a great tournament. So great season, I think this OL team is the most star-studded in the league. I think they're the deepest. I think they have the most talent, and they started to find that momentum prior to that Kansas City win. Kansas City loss. What does concern me about this OL side is that their issues that plagued them earlier in the season was lack of efficiency in front of goal. I saw that creep in that Kansas City game, and they're going up against, as you said, Poppy, one of the most stingy defenses in NWSL. With this Gotham team, only 8 goals conceded. A lot of those goals coming in the second half. And guess what? It doesn't bode well for OL because 15 of the 17 goals that OL have scored in this season have come in the first half. So they've got to start fast. They've got to get on top of this Gotham City team, this Gotham FC team. And the question for me is, does Gotham FC play in a 3 center back system? They shifted to that in their last match against Louisville. And if they do that, I think this is OL's game to win because OL is so dominant in those wide areas with their personality players. They are going to have a lot of space to get in behind those wing backs and force Cabrice Tedesco into a lower position, who has been fantastic for Gotham. She's led their team in many of the categories in terms of offensive production, which is shocking because she's been playing in an outside back position. But if you can negate her influence, if you can negate Ifeoma Onomanu's influence, who leads this team with 5 goals, and then, of course, Carli Lloyd coming back into the fold will be a boost for Gotham FC. If they can make those players play on their heels, play in more defensive role, I do think that this is OL's game to lose, especially on their home field, a field that is small that can make this Gotham FC team uncomfortable in possession. So I'm going to give the nod to OL Reign, but last week they disappointed against Kansas City, and they're going to be hungry for revenge. This is a Gotham team that has blanked them twice. 0 goals, 3-0, 1-0, and they're going to want to prove that they can find the back of the net.
Well, Aly, speaking of Carli Lloyd, she recently announced her retirement. This season will be her last with both the US women's national team and in the NWSL. And if there's one thing we know about Carli Lloyd, she's a winner and she's going to give absolutely everything. Gotham FC came out on the wrong side of the Challenge Cup final earlier this season. How much motivation is this for her and for her team to send her off on a high and put a bow on what's been such an incredible career?
Yeah, that is a great question, because if there's anything that Carli wants to do outside of be a winner is prove people wrong. And I think she wants to grab this Gotham FC team that has a lot of talent, a loaded midfield, and with Tine, Allie Long, McCall Zerboni, pick them up by the scruff of their neck and say, let's go and win, and put all those doubters in the behind us in the rearview mirror, because I think that this is a player that is motivated by proving people wrong. And I do think that what happened in the Olympics is giving her even more of that hunger and drive to end on a high note, because I know she wasn't satisfied when she left Japan, left Tokyo, and coming back here is her opportunity just to put the sweet little bow on her career. Not that she needs it for anyone else's perspective, but she needs it for her own, I think, her own self, to know that she's walking out on a high with this group.
Well, we know she's just smashed records, won countless titles and trophies throughout her decorated career, so no doubt she'll be looking for one more in this final chapter. Aly, fabulous insight as always. Thanks so much for joining us. And here is a reminder of the 2 matches we've got coming up on Saturday. It all gets started at 7 Eastern at Wake Med Soccer Park as the Courage host Kansas City. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, the Reign and Gotham FC will go head-to-head in Tacoma. A win for the Reign could boost them from 7th to 3rd in the standings, which just shows how tight it is in the NWSL at the minute. And as a reminder, both matches, as always, available on Paramount+.